Hey, welcome back to Grit Gym. Today is the Rachael Adam Show. I'm glad that you're here. If you're watching this later, you're not here with us right now, please type in hashtag replay or hashtag team replay. And if you're here right now, please tag in hashtag team live and we'll be able to see your post. But this is going to be fun because I actually forgot what we were going to talk about. I took no notes, but Rachael took tons of notes, and we're just going to bounce back and forth on some stuff. Why don't you introduce the topic? Maybe that would be fun.
Well, don't you want to talk about what you did this weekend?
What did we do this weekend?
I don't know. I didn't do what you did.
We went to a continuing education event in Chicago. It was fantastic. Learned a bunch about. I sat in on a lot of spine stuff, a lot of corrective exercise type stuff, and we took Eric and Tori and Chris Amelon even came with us. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a great time. It's something that we do every year, and it's fun. It's just a lot of fun to go there. It was really cool to take them for their first time.
Did they like it?
I think they liked it.
I think they
liked it a lot, actually. I think they're not even letting on how much they liked it.
That's good.
It's different when you get to be the student, when you're the coach all the time, when you're the teacher, you're the teacher, you're the teacher, you're the teacher,
Mm-hmm.
and then you get to go and be the student, especially in a different setting. Like when I read, I'm the student. When I ingest info products, I'm a student. But when I'm in a conference with around other people where you get to bounce ideas around, it's a different type. It's a different deal.
Plus, when you're around a lot of like-minded people, it kind of makes the energy go up.
I love that. That's my favorite part. Sometimes I don't even listen to the speakers. I just sit there and end up taking notes, just like crazy because I'm
being in a room with 100 different people that are just as interested in the same topic is kind of rare.
Yeah.
Until you get to that once or twice a year kind of place.
A lot of people will talk about like I used to even say this. I used to say, "Well, I'll just buy the info product. No big deal. I'll just buy the info product and it'll be fine."
Or like the online version.
I'll buy the online version. I'll do that. I'll watch it. I'll live stream it. Whatever it is, because almost all of these have some kind of version of that.
Yeah.
And I did that for a long time because it was usually cheaper. I didn't have to pay for travel and all this stuff. But I think you're doing yourself a huge disservice if you don't get out and go to one of these, even if it's not your subject. Even if it's a subject you just find sort of interesting.
Well, you miss out on the one-on-one conversations too, like the networking and being able to ask questions.
I don't even think I do that very much.
Well, even if you didn't, like it's impossible not to say, like not to run into somebody and have like, even if it's a small talk kind of thing.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. No, it was amazing. But anyway, we're spending way too much time on this. What's the topic?
So we're going to be talking about being aggressive versus being assertive. Kind of like.
All right.
Kind of get what?
Go for it.
Funny?
Nothing, because I'm just really aggressive and really assertive.
Yeah. Versus, like, there's pros and cons, but when is aggression an appropriate time? Appropriate. I'm
like Stanley Kubrick here. Creepy.
When is aggression appropriate in a situation, and when is being assertive appropriate in a situation? I think aggression is very limited in the space that it needs to be used, especially in conversation. I was thinking.
Okay. To cut you off before you get going, how are we defining aggression? Give me some examples.
I'd say you're having a conversation with a significant other. Using aggression to get your point across is not necessarily the best way.
Okay.
To.
Is not okay. I interrupted you there a little bit. Were you done?
Sure.
Was that a yes or a no?
Yes.
Okay. So what are we saying is the difference between intimidation and aggression?
I mean, there's different types of aggression. So like maybe you like increasing the volume of your voice just to intimidate somebody into seeing how you want to see it or getting your way. It's not necessarily
and are we talking? I did it again. Were you done?
Sure, yeah.
Jeez. Go ahead and finish what you were going to say.
No, you go.
Okay, anyway. So are we talking, so intimidation, we're talking about aggression in an intimidating manner. Are we talking about anger? Or are we...
Anger, yeah. if you're having a conversation with somebody and you go straight to anger, it's not going to get your point across in a very clear and effective way.
I gotcha.
A lot of the time when we also passive aggressiveness is another part of the aggression.
By the way, I can't stand passive aggressive. I would much rather a person be outrageously rude than to be some BS version of passive aggressive. I'd rather know where you stand than have no idea what's going on.
It's almost like you want to belittle them by using passive aggressiveness to maybe state something.
Well, maybe that's what we go through. Okay, so we're talking about some version of anger, intimidation, and aggression. Because I think aggression and anger and intimidation are all three very, very different things. So, like in sports, you don't get to be Mr. Nice Guy all the time, right? You have to be aggressive.
That was the one place where I think aggression really might be effective.
Well, in any kind of competitive scenario, you're doing whatever it takes to win. If I don't like, if it's within the rules, you do it. You play like, if you need to play a mind game, you play a mind game. I do think that if you were playing mind games, you are not a very skilled athlete or competitor. By the way, well, you're a skilled competitor. You're not a skilled athlete. But so you're saying in a cooperative scenario, like between you and I,
in a
that
relationship,
we have a disagreement, and let's say, since I'm the more aggressive one in this scenario, because you're like, that's just not really like it's not something that you really throw out there. You're very nurturing, a little bit more on the passive side, but extremely nurturing and just so nice, and you're just kind of be quiet and shut down and go internal rather than going external. All right, so you're talking about me being like super angry, super intimidating. Let's say a hypothetical situation, I'm super angry, I'm super intimidating, I'm super aggressive. You're saying that in that scenario, you don't learn, you can't hear a word that I'm saying.
No, you basically, nobody gets what they want in that scenario.
Yeah, everybody.
You might fight through it a little bit and then both get tired and then get to the end and be like, okay, this is going nowhere.
Yeah.
We need to actually like talk about it rather than like butt heads.
Yeah.
It's not a competition when you both want the same thing.
Okay, so all right, so then let's talk about that in a little bit. I think you have that in your notes, I'm guessing.
What?
That what you just said.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, so what's the difference between that and assertive? Because we got to get clear on assertive too. So what are we talking? What are we saying is assertive?
Okay, so let's use a version of, like, say you're at a restaurant and you get the wrong food. It's clearly the wrong food. There's a couple different scenarios that you could use. You could use being passive and not say anything.
And just eat the food that you didn't order?
And then just eat the food, but you didn't get what you wanted.
Okay.
And the server didn't get what they wanted either, because you didn't have a pleasant experience.
Oh, I gotcha.
They just don't know.
Yeah,
don't you think they would want to know?
Yeah, that's what I say. Like the worst complaint is the one that you never hear.
Okay.
I would much rather hear a pithy little nothing of a complaint than to never hear it. Because if I never hear the complaint, I can't do anything about it.
Exactly. You want it, like me, when I was serving, I wanted to know that there was something wrong, because if I would hear about it later and nobody had told me anything, I was mildly kind of pissed off, because I was like, why wouldn't they say anything? Like, I could have totally, that was an easy fix. I could have got it to them in like
and
a
everybody
minute.
would have won would have benefited from it, right?
So then I guess would say you didn't get your food that you wanted, you ate it, and then at the end of the meal you just didn't tip them and didn't tell them why.
And you like scoffed the whole time, and
I've gotten that too, where they would like write something at the end, didn't tip because of this. Okay, you were the one that did not tell me, and now you are using that as an excuse.
Yeah, this goes back to the everybody's responsible thing. Like you were responsible, they were responsible. They were 100% responsible for like in our relationship we have an agreement that she is going to ask for 100% of what she wants. Like she can't just assume that I'm going to know. And the same thing for me. I have to ask for 100% of what I want from her. If I don't ask, I cannot assume that she was supposed to give it to me. Mm-hmm. Like if she wants roses, I might just bring home roses someday just for the hell of it. But if she wants roses and she never tells me that she wants roses, and then one day I come home and she's pissed because she's like, I've been waiting for roses for 5 years and I don't give her roses. Well, it's like, well, you never asked for roses. You never asked for roses, did you? Like, but I can't say that in this scenario because she's pissed. She won't hear anything. So you ask for 100% of what you want 100% of the time. We have that agreement. So that's the responsibility thing there.
So if you go to the aggression part of it, say in a restaurant scenario,
okay.
If the if the person that I was serving comes to me and is aggressive about it, it's like, you're an idiot, you don't know what you're doing, which these are all scenarios that I've gotten before.
Can we be clear on the intimidation, anger, and aggression?
Okay.
Not just call it, because I love the word aggression, or I don't love it. I like the word aggression very, very much. So can we call it intimidation, anger, and aggression? Like, can we get like?
Okay, if they are intimidating, aggressive, and
like they're trying to impose, they're trying to they're
trying to flip it around and make it into something it doesn't need to be. In this moment, as a server, I'm thinking in my head, I totally could have fixed this if they would have been nice about it and come at me with a concern rather than they want to tear me down. Yeah. Now, I don't want to do anything for them. I don't want to fix this problem. Like, it's going to be like pulling teeth for me. Yeah, so we both lost.
It's
again.
Natural bias. Yeah. You lose the tip. They like, think if you sat down to a meal, they brought you the wrong food, it wasn't what you wanted, you ate it anyway, and then you got pissed.
That's totally your fault.
Like, had you said...
You just need to bite your tongue and then feel bad about yourself later on. It should not be reflected onto that server.
You mean if that's what you do?
Yeah, if that's what you... That's
2 hours
your
later,
choice.
You might be like, well, like, if you're not a terrible person anyway, like, 2
you're
hours later,
you're
going to be like, man, I feel like shit. I shouldn't have done that. I made a huge error.
Yeah.
And then it's pretty weird if you go back and say so. I've done stuff like that before where like with the athletes out of the gym, like the teenagers, every once in a while, you just like maybe once a year, you just kind of snap at them one time because they're just sometimes
kids
every parent knows
annoying.
But like the next day, as soon as I would get, I'd walk up to them and be like, hey, yesterday that wasn't on you, that was on me. It's my error. And if like whether it was a young girl or a young guy, I'd be like, this is what a real man does when he makes an error. He admits it and he tells you, that's my error, that's not yours.
Yeah.
And I would explain it to them. We'd have a conversation. They'd always look at me like it was crazy, but it was kind of it was like it was weird. But I always did it because that's a lesson to that kid. But anyway, I'm cutting off your deal.
Well, okay. So if we go to best case scenario, this person gets the wrong food and they tell me right away, and I can get their food back to them within minutes, and they're happy because they get to eat what they want, and then I might feel like bad. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, that was totally my bad. Be truthful with them as well. They'll probably tip me just as much as they would have in the first place because you are acting like a real, genuine person. And then it's a win-win.
Everybody got there where they wanted. But I think that everybody does this to a certain extent in their relationships. Like, they metaphorically eat the meal that they didn't want. And then they get mad later on. So so like, let's say you do something, I don't say anything. You do something, I don't say anything. You do something, I don't say anything. And then eventually I'm like, why do you keep doing this? I'm so pissed at you. And it's like, well, if I hadn't delayed the confrontation, because you don't get to avoid confrontation, you can only delay it. So if I hadn't delayed the confrontation and instead done it right up front, been like, hey, can we not do this? Can we do something else, to talk about it? Then I wouldn't have had like all those weeks of resentment build up to this huge fight. I think that everybody is metaphorically eating the meal they didn't want, and they get mad at the end instead of confronting it up front and doing so. So you're saying to be assertive.
To be assertive is to have confidence enough or the balls enough to say something and have a dialogue about it.
The cojones.
Yeah. But being aggressive is basically being defensive. It's attacking. It's nagging. It's not a positive in the direction where you want to go.
It's that fear of not being enough. It's like you didn't stack up. Like, what? I'm not enough for you to bring me the right meal? Like, well, you are.
You want to welcome you don't want to put up a wall right away you're trying, like, the defense is like kind of to break them down, to scare them, to, like, when you yell at someone, it's to get their attention. It's to get, like, a reaction.
I try not to yell. Are you just saying hypothetically,
I'm just saying,
if I were
say
to
your
yell?
kids, like little kids, sometimes they literally don't listen. You have to scream at them, but you don't have to do it in a way that's frightening.
You have to get their attention somehow.
Yeah, you have to get their attention.
All right, so have we gotten very clear? I don't know if we've gotten real clear on what like being assertive means.
I just said it's having confidence. It's being open to a dialogue. It's speaking up for yourself.
Okay.
It's kind of many things. It's not like just brushing it under the rug and hoping it goes away. It's having the ability to speak your mind and say what you want when you want it.
Is this something that you've had? Because I'm just extremely assertive naturally.
I'm extremely not assertive.
I know. So is this like
it's
a learning process for you?
It's definitely a learning process for me because I got so used to not getting what I wanted. I didn't even know I wasn't being assertive.
Yeah.
I didn't use passive aggressiveness. I didn't use aggressive. Well, maybe with my... Maybe in certain situations it would build up, but that's the thing you don't want. You don't want like your passiveness to bleed into a relationship and then you kind of attack the person that you care about.
Well, yeah,
you want to have a...
You can confront without going to combat. You can confront
Exactly.
without attack. You can confront. You can be assertive and not attack. I think is what you're talking about.
But if you go so long without getting what you want and then you don't know how to express that, it kind of comes out as aggression.
Yeah, that's
in
what I say.
In a bad way. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to put fear under their friends or their family or their coworkers just because they made an error in not expressing what they wanted to in the first place. It's a waste of time as well.
It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. It's a waste of focus. It's a waste of like basically any positivity in your life. It's a huge source of resentment and fear and eventually you're going to end up hating each other. I guarantee you that we can bring every single divorced person that's ever existed into a room, every single breakup, and we can talk about what one person did versus what the other person did in the scenario, and they're going to blame back and forth, and they're going to play this game and it's all going to come down to a matter of what we're talking about here, is that they ate the meal that they didn't want, and then they got mad about it afterwards instead of confronting it in the first place.
Well, and on the opposing side, say you only use aggression with your kids. That's gonna be kind of the same exact situation.
This goes so far back and forth because like I like the word aggression. I think aggression, if you get very clear with what aggression is to you,
well,
anyway.
Then maybe we don't have a common idea of aggression.
Like I think what you're talking about is attacking someone, and attacking someone is a completely different scenario. Like, to me, aggression is this great thing. You need to be aggressive in your life. You need to aggressively go for your goals. You need to aggressively go for your health. You should need to aggressively go for your relationship, the relationship that you do want.
Okay, then we were talking about two
and be aggressive with the time that you do have while you're here in this life. But I don't think that you need to attack your relationship. You don't need to attack your health or attack your wealth or attack your time.
Or attack a conversation or a negotiation.
Right.
I kind of meant that, like in conversation, going for assertiveness and aggression. I
think I'm figuring out what you mean by aggression, like the way that you think of it. But like to me, aggression is kind of like this focused fury. It's not. I'm not furious. I have like this like I'm after this thing. I'm very very focused on getting this thing. You know. Yeah. Like I had to be fairly aggressive to get you.
Yep.
I just kept on going and kept on. And persistent might be another word for it, but had both of us been like the same level of passive, this never would have happened because I just had to continue to pursue and pursue and pursue and pursue. It was like, okay, well, she didn't show up for a date. I just got stood up. I guess I'm gonna have to call her again tomorrow.
I don't think I ever stood you up.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna leave for the concert at about 4:00. You wanna just meet at my place? Because you were a little nomad back then, didn't even know where you lived. Lived with this friend, then lived with this friend, then lived with this friend.
Yeah.
And then guess who lost their phone? Very
easily.
Very coincidentally.
I did.
The day before.
You knew me back then.
Wow, how convenient that you lose your phone the day before the date that you were nervous to go on.
I don't know. If that's actually how it happened.
Anyway, I do think there's a difference between anger, intimidation, aggression, assertive, attack, confront, combat. I think there's like getting very clear on what all these words mean to you is going to make a big difference in how you communicate with your significant other. Mm-hmm. Like that's just getting clear. I think people underestimate this clarity thing.
Well, it's kind of like we have this ongoing, like, it's my fault mostly.
What?
Bickering about I don't like him in the kitchen with me cooking because he.
Oh.
But it's.
Because I what?
But it's about me not being open to discussion and having, like, negotiating how to do things. It's like I instantly take it as an attack.
Well, you go before. I mean, I do not think that I attack. I'll like ask you a question that is even remotely related to this scenario, and you're on defense before I even get to the question.
He's being very assertive, and I'm being very defensive.
But I'm trying to just ask questions.
So those are like polar opposites.
Hey, what if we dried the dishes as we washed the dishes? Like I dry and you wash, like something simple like that. And before I even get to the question, bam! Like, no, it's your way or the highway. It's like, no, it's not my way or the highway. I'm just trying to have a discussion here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's been an ongoing thing. It's been a lot of growth in this very simple thing of how,
it's like a little dance.
Which is interesting because like I think we have this microcosm in our kitchen between the two of us that know each other fairly decently, have had coaching, have had on how to communicate with each other, to get clear with things. That we've gone through all of this growth. We've read book after book after book on relationships. We've gone to conferences. We've done all of this stuff over years and years and years, and we've aggressively attacked this relationship, or not attacked. We've aggressively gone after this the relationship that we do want instead of the relationship we don't want. We put all of our focus on that, and yet in the kitchen, there is still this difficulty of communication and clarity and all of this stuff in this one. What's our kitchen like? Maybe 14 by 12 feet, something like that. In this small room where it's very clear what's going on, and two people. Now think of these people that are trying to attack things like politics or economics, or like these multiple, like tons and tons and tons of people, millions of people involved, and millions of policies and red tape and all of this crap, and they think that they can go aggressively at this, when you probably can't even get into the kitchen with your significant other, the metaphorical kitchen with your significant other. Like, we've got to think about the small chunks and the big chunks, I do think.
Which, I mean, in the beginning, like a lot in that specific topic, the kitchen, we have grown a long way from where it used to be. Like, there's certain things that we have had conversations about over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That made it grow to the point where we can understand each other a little bit better.
A lot better.
But that's the thing. You have to be open to wanting to make it better and not just ignoring it.
But I do think, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're going over, so it's her version of aggression versus my version of aggression.
Yeah.
It's just a simple, just one word. And how much of a difference has it had in our interaction just in this video? Your words matter. How you get clear with the words that you use matter. The questions that you ask or not ask, they matter. You're all doing a version, all of us, even us still to this day, are probably still doing a version somewhere along the line. We're going to have it, we're going to make an error, and we're going to eat the entire meal that we didn't want before we say anything about it. When it could have been just, okay, yeah, we'll switch out your meals.
The metaphorical meal.
The metaphorical meal. The metaphorical meal that you did or did not want. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't realize that we were talking about aggression in such a different way. But it makes sense because I don't think of aggression the way you do. You kind of
I think aggression is great. But
I don't look at it. In a conversation, though?
Yeah, and everything. But I don't look at it as an attack. Yeah. I don't look at it in a conversation. We can have an aggressive conversation without either of us intimidating the other one. We can have an aggressive conversation without us Like, it's not like we're going to get mad and angry and shit. It's just like maybe we're passionate and we're just going back and forth. We're really excited and we've had too much coffee and, just took a little bump.
No, we don't do that.
Don't do that. I've never done cocaine in my life. I think it would be interesting to see me on cocaine. It'd be like if you've ever seen the movie Hoodwinked, it'd be like the squirrel when he gets a cup of coffee.
Isn't that about Little Red Riding Hood?
Yeah, when the squirrel gets a cup of coffee, that would be me on cocaine.
Yikes.
I know.
No thanks.
Yeah, no, I don't want to
So
see
what would you call
that
someone like who is in a conversation is so angry that the veins are popping out of their head and their neck, and they're trying to like get their point across, but like who is gonna respond in a positive way to that? Like
No
what would you
one.
call that?
That's just silly.
Assertion versus.
I don't think that person is being aggressive. I think that person's being angry.
Yeah, and they can be as
You look at two wrestlers on a wrestling mat. I just cut you off.
okay.
What were you gonna say?
I mean, you can be as angry as you want, but that doesn't mean that the person is going to understand how you feel. All they see is the veins popping out of your neck, and then how red your face is. They're in fear mode. I mean,
Well, both of you, like,
most likely they're in fear, and they can't even absorb what you're even trying to.
fear's contagious. So,
Yeah.
like, if I get angry at you, what are you more likely? Like, fear. For one, anger is just fear. Like, if people try to tell you that anger isn't fear, that's garbage. Anger is fear. If I were to get angry, it would be because I was trying. Let's say I got angry between her and I. If I'm going to get angry, it's because I'm psychologically trying to push her away from seeing that I'm afraid.
It's a defensive.
It's a natural defense. So, and it's understandable, but it's not reasonable because she's still right here. I can't push her away from seeing my fear. And what inevitably happens is because you got angry, you exposed your fear even more. Anytime that you have the fear scenario, it's going to attract more of what you did not want. Batter strikes out, slams his bat down on the plate, throws his helmet, throws this huge fit, all because he didn't want anybody to see that he was afraid. He was afraid of someone seeing that he was afraid. So he started to psychologically push them away. What happens? He drew more attention to himself and to his own fear. Fear gives you what you did not want. And so that's anger. So if I get angry at her, that's what's going on. And if I get angry, what's she more likely to do? She's more likely to get defensive and get scared that I'm going to psychologically hurt her, physically hurt her, which is the last thing anybody wants to do, right? I don't want her to be scared of me, so why would I want to get angry at her? That's why I say it's an unreasonable fear. It's understandable that people get angry. It is not reasonable. And so when that happens, the fear being contagious thing, I contaged you. I infected you. If I was scared,
You're
I would have
spreading your fear.
I would have infected her with the fear. If you get
Which
around
is what you don't want.
Right. If you get around a really anxious person, what happens? They get anxious too. If you go to I know there referenced wrestling earlier, but go to a wrestling meet at a high school or below skill level, and look at both the parents and they have to be boys. Look at the moms. Whichever mom is more nervous, that kid will lose. Her kid will lose. I almost guarantee you every single time, her kid will lose. Because fear is contagious, and nobody has a stronger connection between their kid than between a little boy and his mom.
So what about when the parent is screaming up in the stands?
Worse.
Yeah, because they're being distracted by...
Shut up and clap. That is one of those things that, like, don't cheer. Like, your kids, like, if you want to do the kid thing, your kids can pick your voice up out of 1,000 people. Subconsciously or not, like whether they know what you said or not, they can pick up your voice and they can pick up the inflection. They can do that stuff. So if you cheer, if you clap, I didn't even say like maybe don't clap. Just try to sit there and soothe out and not feel anything. Just go numb. Don't clap. Don't react. Don't say anything. Don't be anything. Don't be angry. Don't be anxious. Sit down. Shut up. I really hope that I can actually, like, if we had kids someday and they're like playing like a sport or something, I can take all this advice, because I'm not saying that Easy, but don't say a word. All you are is a distraction. You say anything, you distracted them. Even if it was positive, just leave it alone.
I agree. I mean, being in sports, like the one person that you look into the stands is your parents. If you see them acting like aggressively towards,
I think you can tell. I think it, like, I think you have like there's like a connection there that we can't quite measure just yet. Like, just like body language, a person walks into the room and they're a little bit anxious, and you don't even know that they're anxious, and you're going to have that. You have control over it because you can manage your own self, but you're going to have an influence there.
There's going to be some sort of
fear
influence.
is contagious.
And what parent wants to affect their kid with their own fear?
Well, they're sabotaging their kids.
They're sabotaging not only themselves but their child in that point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and it shouldn't be the norm as well. I think it's becoming more and more normal for parents to argue for their kids in sports.
The best thing that you can do for your kid is to let them do their thing. Practice with them outside the sport, help them out as best you can, be supportive. I think the two questions on I know this, I just hijacked your whole thing here, but this does go into the anger, intimidation, and aggressive, because most coaches, parents think that this is how you get results out of kids, and it's not. You do not get results out of intimidating your kid. Intimidation is just trying to scare your kid into taking action.
Well, you also
That's stupid. You just scared them.
Fear.
Well, they got scared. You didn't scare them. So they got what happened. And then they get angry at you. You get angry at them. You just infected them with, you're contagious. Maybe you didn't infect them, but they got it from you. So to me, I think you have, these are the two questions that you get to say on the way home. Like let's say they're done with a little league game and they're in the two things that you get to say. You get one statement, one question. The statement is some version of I just like watching you play. I so much enjoy watching you compete. I really enjoy watching you out there working hard. Some version of that. I enjoy watching you play. And then the question is, you don't get to make any other statement about the game. You don't get to critique them. You don't get to say anything. I don't care how positive or constructive it is. If you say, you're the next Willie Mays, like, that's a stupid statement, because it's a silly statement. Like, you just elicited a fixed mindset in their head that they are going to have trouble breaking out of. They will lie, cheat, and steal to make that true. You just created a criminal. Now, if you step back and you ask them questions and they get to figure it out on their own, and you say some version of, well, what could you have done? What could you have done? And you can just say it just like that, and they're like, "What do you mean?" Well, what could you have done during the game? What could you have done different? What could you have done better? What could you have done? What could you have done? Some version of that, and they will answer. And you say, let's say they say, "I hate my coach." It's like, well, what could you do? Your coach probably isn't going to change. What could you do? Man, it would have been great if we won the game. Well, what could you have done to help what could you have done better? Well, it wasn't me, it was the team. Well, what could you have done? Well, I could have rallied the team up. Okay, well, that's something. All right, so how would you do that? That's what you do. You ask questions to lead them down their own rabbit hole, but you don't try to impose statements upon them. They don't learn from that. That's that intimidation, aggression, and attack thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the example I gave about kids. It's like you can, and also kids are so influential. The things that you say to them now stick with them forever sometimes. Yeah. You never know when, like, there's so many times when I was little that I still remember. It's like a tiniest moment, but you remember it. Yep. And it becomes something that you can't ever forget.
It becomes a part of you.
It becomes a part of
what you
your
learn
truth.
before you're 4 years old. You will learn more in your first 4 years than you will learn in the entirety of the rest of your life. So even if you live to 100, so you had, 8 or 96 years, you will learn more in your first 4 years than you will learn in the next 96 if you live to 100. But Erin did it last night. Lucas was out there, and Erin is the mom of Lucas.
Erin Shaw.
Yeah. And Erin goes, and Lucas comes running up, and he goes, "She hit me." Miriam apparently hit him with a roller. The foam rollers, they're not heavy. They don't hurt
brother
anything.
And sister stuff.
Yeah, brother and sister stuff. And they're both kids, and he comes running up. "Miriam hit me with the roller," and she's like, "Well, why didn't you duck?" That's a version of, well, what could you have done? What could you do? Why didn't you duck?
Well, and also in that moment, by her, like, say she were to be like, Marianne. Like, nothing about Aaron, but we've all been in this scenario where, like, our little sibling hit us or something happened. If they were to just instantly go and punish them, what is that teaching that kid as well?
Yeah, well, what's it teaching the other kid? Like, what, you're not powerless in this scenario? You couldn't have done something about her, like, you couldn't have said, hey, don't hit me anymore, or you couldn't have ducked, you couldn't have dodged, you couldn't have dipped.
Yeah.
What are the other 5 Ds of dodgeball?
Duck?
I don't know. But you give the kid the power. Put all the responsibility that you possibly can on that kid. What could you have done?
Because we learn, a lot of the things we learn are from situations where we had a difficulty. Mm-hmm. We came to, I don't know, a lot of learning comes from difficult situations where we had to figure it out ourselves and process it by ourselves to either do it a different way the next time or improve upon something that you did great.
Yeah. So what can you do?
What can you do?
What could you have done? What could you have done? What could you have done? I just think that this is just a powerful question. What could you have done? He hit me. What could you have done? I could have not gotten hit. Like, if Rachel slaps me across the face right now, was it her fault that she slapped me? Yeah. Was it my fault that I got hit? Yeah. It's not an either or.
He should have ducked.
I should have ducked. I could have blocked it. I could have done something. Like, is it her fault that she that she swung? Is it her fault that she landed the hit? Yes. Is it my fault that she landed the hit? Yes. I let her hit me. It's a both. It's not an either or. It is the silliest thing that we do.
Well, that went pretty wild. We went in many different topics.
Oh, are you trying to wrap it up?
Yeah.
It's probably time. All right. So that's a little talk on anger, intimidation, aggression, and assertiveness, and some different perspectives on all of them. I would encourage everybody that got this far to sit down and really get clear. Ask questions when you're in a conversation, especially one that could be a little charged. So basically, what is it? You're not supposed to talk about politics, religion, and money?
Yep.
But I like talking about those things.
I think you can talk about them, but minus the attack. Minus the using I statements rather than you statements and pointing your finger, and that creates it's almost like you're going off topic. You're trying to deflect your insecurities onto someone else by making them feel inferior. That's not a good way to have a negotiation or discover new things. It's a very good competitive skill. If you can make someone else inferior to you psychologically, then you're probably more likely to win. But in a discussion, why do you want to win? You don't.
Man, I want to learn.
The winners are the people that gain a new perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a win-win or a lose-lose.
Yeah. All right.
Did you just Shooter McGavin, everybody?
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Happy Gilmore?
Oh, yeah.
Shooter. All right, you close us out.
All right, thanks, guys. See you later. No, comment, like, share.
You try to copy me. You just do your own thing. But yeah, please do copy it. Jeez. Please do comment, like, share below. We love to hear what you guys have to say.
If you don't agree, even still, put something down there.
I like it when people disagree with me. When people disagree with me, I get to learn their perspective. It's fantastic. I'm very curious what you disagree with.
Same.
Yeah.
It opens up the discussion, the dialogue. Be assertive.
Most definitely. All right. Thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. Please like, comment, share.
Bye.
We'll be back next week with the Rachael Adam Show. Thanks for being here. See you soon.